70 years ago, the United Nations created the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Hailed as a watershed achievement in human history, its effects are everywhere. But what exactly is a human right? And where did we get the idea that every person is entitled to the same basic treatment and decency? Harvard Kennedy School professor Mathias Risse says that one can trace the origins of human rights as a concept to the ancient world.
Once you have cultures where people are thinking about morality, they are thinking about what should be done for people, they are thinking about how to treat each other, at some point they come to the realization that the people who live on the other side of the river, on the other side of the mountain ridge, are really not that different from themselves.
Human rights starts with the idea of a universal morality. In the ancient world, the next step was the idea of constraining power. That's the notion that even though people believed the power of a king or emperor was divine in nature, that power wasn't unlimited.
There's very systematic efforts in ancient India, there's very systematic efforts in pre-imperial China. So the idea that power wasn't just there to benefit those who happen to wield it and, for society just to dance around their tune, the idea that there needed to be constraints on that is a very ancient one.
Prior to the Universal Declaration, there are some examples of other human rights documents. The text on an ancient ceramic cylinder written by Persian King Cyrus the Great talks about freeing slaves and guaranteeing religious freedom in conquered Mesopotamia. In recent years, the cylinder of Cyrus has been held up as the first recorded expression of human rights, though this is a subject of debate among historians. The Magna Carta, which constrained the rights of the English monarch in the 13th century, only applied if you happened to be a feudal lord. And almost all early ideas about protecting people from the excesses of power applied to groups, not individuals. The notion that every individual person had natural rights didn't really gain traction until the Enlightenment, and it continued with the American Declaration of Independence and the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and the Citizen. In the first half of the 20th century, the world plunged into global war, twice. And once the smoke from World War II cleared, people saw the horrors of the Holocaust and other atrocities, as well as the terrifying existential threat of nuclear weapons.
The victors of the war wanted to continue and say we actually need global institutions that make sure that calamities of the scale that the world had now seen twice, right, the First and the Second World War, that something like this would not be repeated. So there needed to be a certain degree of political and economic coordination, and so the United Nations was founded. The idea was that this also needed a moral vision of sorts, which is added to this overall package of the United Nations.
It took 3 years for the UN to come up with a preamble and 30 articles. Perhaps most importantly, they defined human rights as rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. Human rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinion and expression, the right to work and education, and many more.
To this day, if you read the Universal Declaration aloud, you say, I wish we in this country enjoyed all the rights that are in the Universal Declaration. So there's a big gap still between the rights that are in the Universal Declaration and in the treaties and the actual practice in the world. That gap leads many to say that, human rights haven't worked because we're still so far from where we want to be.
So has the Universal Declaration been a success or a failure? Professor Sikkink says it laid the foundation for a lot of important things that came next, like the development of international law and treaties that solidified these rights.
Treaties like the Convention Against Genocide, like the Convention Against Torture, Convention for the Rights of Women, eventually the conventions for the rights of children or people with disabilities. That's important because when you have a treaty, countries ratify it, and they legally agree to be bound by it. Once you have that promise by countries to respect human rights, that gives tools to people around the world who can try to pressure their governments and pressure other governments to live up to their legal commitments.
The success of the Universal Declaration is also hard to judge because human rights are a moving target. Today's definition of discrimination is much broader than it was 70 years ago. At that time, it was mostly about race, religion, and ethnicity.
Human rights has the seeds for its own expansion. And so once you say no discrimination, then you realize, it can't be only no discrimination for XYZ, but it's okay to discriminate against trans people. So that's one beauty of human rights. There's a problem associated with that beauty, and that is that as we keep expanding human rights, we are more convinced that things are getting worse because we are what we've called raising the bar of accountability.
Safeguarding human rights also means looking to the future. Recent scandals with online privacy and fake news, the rise of decision-making by algorithm and automation are just a few of the technological issues humanity is facing, and which could have a profound impact on human rights.
The truth is, so as technology is changing our lives, it is also affecting the realizability of every single right on the Universal Declaration. We are turning over decision-making to machines, and we are using automated decision-making, for example, in the judicial system, where decisions about parole are made at the advice of algorithms. We are developing weapon technologies that have brought fully automated weapon system, artificially intelligent weapon systems.
Whether we're looking forward to a utopia or a dystopia may well depend on how well the principles articulated in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights are baked into tomorrow's designs.
We have to work very hard for making that happen and also make sure that technological know-how is spread, that everybody is included. It requires a lot of global collaboration to make sure that they're not just some minor trickle-down effects, but that the benefits of technology are broadly shared.
But shared by who? And in the not-too-distant future, we may even be asking, shared by what?
We might look at a future that is populated by intelligent players that are dramatically different from us, and then with a range of kind of intermediate creatures like cyborgs who are technologically enhanced, organic creatures. So we're looking at a future where entities, creatures of sorts, will demand a share in power, a share in participation, a kind of protection and in enduring existence the way humans have so far. So this is very much also on my mind and the Carr Center's radar, because these are not questions you want to ask for the first time systematically once such entities are actually upon us.
This video is a co-production of the Office of Communications and Public Affairs and the Carr Center for Human Rights Policy at Harvard Kennedy School. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content from Harvard Kennedy School, make sure to subscribe.